The Big Artie Quitter 4th of July version.
Turn me down just a click, Dan, on the
Yeah,
headphones.
you're right. Yeah, well, actually, we should test that. You're good, Naturman, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
That better, though?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. It was just a little hot. That's
is there a
better.
particular way you like your first name? Is that?
We always just say Dove, which
Dove,
is probably
okay.
incorrect, but that's how we pronounce it.
That's what I've been saying sometimes.
Yeah.
All right.
Like the
Dov and Davidoff, right?
Davidoff, like the cigar.
Dov Davidoff is here, and along with that, we were talking to Danny Naturman. Dov is one of those guys that I love seeing when I go to the Comedy Cellar because I don't know. I guess we've had maybe over the last 15 or 10 years. Maybe 20 conversations, all at the Comedy Cellar, and every single one of them, I end up laughing really hard. He's got the same sensibility as me about. I love talking to Dov about the business. And very funny. And we always. Do you know? Do you notice that? I find myself I laugh every time.
Well, I
we
laugh
talk.
at you too, but you have what it is. You have an erudite thing, and you could talk about a lot of things in a range of subjects, and socioeconomically, you have a whole range of sort of. Observations, but you're a guy from Jersey, and I very much appreciate.
Well, no, yeah, it's grounded in that.
It's grounded in that.
When I talk to you too, because I always say this. There's two things about Dov that are unique to for comedians off the stage. One is apparently he's very good with money off stage, which that is very rare.
It's very uncommon. Yeah,
he knows what he's doing. And the other thing is he can drop you. I would not fuck with Dov. There's a lot of comics who they kind of walk that walk, and the other ones they have that arrogance and I would not. Am I right in that assessment that you can handle yourself in a fight?
Yeah, I mean that's how I grew up. Yeah, no, I've been in trouble. I mean, I'm not a blood. I'm not.
I've been in trouble.
I didn't stay in that psychology, but no, yeah, I should. I've shaken it up a number of times.
Do you feel you matured over the years to where that? Do you think that used to be a problem with you, like in life, the anger?
Yeah.
Well, recently somebody told me that there was a physical fight.
Yeah.
Who's the English guy who looks like Russell Brand? Who's always at the
Jeff.
Jeff, okay. Yeah. And I've talked to Jeff a couple of times. He's always very nice to me, but I know a couple of times he got involved in a fight, and somebody told me that Dov got involved. I said, well, I probably know how that ends. But you were on his side. There was an obnoxious fan there.
Yeah.
Someone said, and then Dov beat the shit out of the guy. And I said, yeah, that makes sense.
No. It was. I don't like some of those guys out front, but clearly you got to stay out of that stuff.
I know.
There's no upside to this.
I've made mistakes where you will call like your jersey gets up, and I've overreacted in situations and said stuff that when I was a longshoreman would get by, but in acting they don't hire you anymore. when they hear you say to one of the other cast members, "I'll hit you with a bat."
Yeah.
Even if you don't mean it.
I know.
I just got very. We were talking about how certain people have an arrogance in this business, and Danny Naturman is an example of a guy who could very easily be arrogant, sort of intellectually with what his back, and he's not like that. He's very he's a nice guy, and he's also funny. So I like seeing Danny too, but. When my break was sort of on Mad TV, there was 8 people in that cast. 7 of them went to either Northwestern, one went to Yale Drama, Groundlings. Yeah. They all know how to do stuff in an improv class that was very. And I was in 3 years earlier. I was a longshoreman, so I was winging it. I felt like I conned my way, and I was whoa, what am I doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I was really self-conscious about it. So the first sketch we read for the network, and Quincy Jones produced.
I remember. Yeah,
and he had a girl, a woman, a girl group company was the name of his company. So 2 women in his life ran it, and there was a writer who was really. He went to Yale Drama School, and I read this sketch that I didn't even write. Patton Oswalt wrote it, as a matter of fact. He was a writer on that show, and I played like a plumber who yells at a woman in the sketch. I don't even remember what it was about. So they give the complimentary applause after we did it, and the kid keeps clapping like in a sarcastic way, and he goes, well, it's always fun to hear a misogynist read a sketch. No. Okay, now, but you're gonna laugh. I was really mad. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know what misogynist meant. Which was really embarrassing.
But you know it was bad.
I knew it was bad.
Right.
From its tone.
Yeah.
So I fucking got so mad. And I leaned over to Orlando Jones, who was one of my better friends, and I said to him, what does that mean? He goes, it means you hate women.
Yeah.
I go, and I'm looking at the two women running the company, and I go, motherfucker, what's his problem? He's trying to get me fired or something.
Right.
I said, first of all, I don't hate women. Well, some women. I treat everybody individually. Some women I have a disdain for.
Oh, you're strong. Yeah,
I mean, what the fuck?
But that's not a misogynist. Some people you have strong disdain
Right.
for.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know but what was that about? So I had
jerk off.
I cornered the kid in the next day, and I said, listen, you ever do that again, I'm gonna hit you in the face with a bat. I said, where I come from, people hit people with bats.
Yeah, you don't say shit like that.
And he got very scared, and then I said, God, I went too far because he's gonna go right to the bosses and shit. And he ended up being more scared of me. I think.
Yeah, sure,
and I wasn't gonna hit him with a bat, but I got so fucking mad.
It wasn't Patton Oswalt.
It was Patton wrote the sketch.
Oh.
This was a kid who Patton and I got along. It was just out of line. What the fuck was his problem? So sometimes though you have to nip shit like that in the bud. Like I can't put up with that. You
got to nip it in the bud.
And then he was extremely friendly to me the rest of the time.
Dan is pointing out the window.
Oh,
other fireworks. Yeah, it's the 4th of July while we're doing this. By the way,
that is. Yeah. The fireworks are going off big.
Are they going over the buildings right now?
Oh, there it
like
is.
the honeymooners, all right?
Right by the end.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
We'll take a break.
Do you still enjoy fireworks after all this
No.
time?
Have you ever enjoyed fireworks?
Probably when I was little, I might have done.
Oh yeah, no, me too. No, sure. When you're a
guess.
kid, they're the best. I mean, Dove was taking a picture of them.
I enjoyed when people in the neighborhood used to set off firecrackers or whatever on our own.
Did you have a lot of that, like M80s and stuff? Kids who I know a couple of kids who did blow off a finger.
I never. No, the M80s. That was like dangerous shit.
Well, do you remember,
firecrackers.
Dan? Do we have the tape of the giant Pierre? Yeah. Do you remember the story recently? This is the guy on the Giants, Pierre, the John Paul Pierre, right? Is it Jesse Paul? What is it? Jason Pierre Paul. He's an amazing defensive end for the Giants. And this past winter. Or past summer, he a day before he's about to resign, he blew his fingers off.
Oh shit!
You know that story? Remember the guy on the Giants, Pierre Paul? We were talking about fireworks. Blew his hand off.
I heard something about that.
Okay, I'm a Giant fan.
I heard something about that.
Okay,
but I don't know. I don't really know about it. No.
Okay, this guy talk about fireworks and kids who are nuts with them. Yeah. This guy is one day before resigning. He's looking at a lot of money.
Yeah,
$60 million maybe over 10 years.
Yeah.
He's with his cousins in Texas, and he's fucking around with fireworks, illegal fireworks. Blows his hand off. Blows his fucking hand off. Okay, he lost $40 million.
So tragic. Yeah.
And they still signed him because he was a defensive guy, but every single play he's got to get there 3 hours early to every game to have his hand taped, and he blew his fucking hand off. And he's a football player. His agent said was interviewed. He said, "I couldn't believe that phone call. They were about to negotiate because he just cost them."
Sad, yeah.
And look, I can't judge the guy because I've made horrible decisions like that in my life. But that is really so. What happened
tragic.
Was recently, audio. One of his cousins was taping it, and they released audio. And the only reason they did this was Pierre Paul got money out of it. But now the Giants might. Sue him because it doesn't. Well, you'll see why the Giants didn't want this tape out. It's audio of him getting his hand blown off. Okay, some website paid him. Do you have it, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, listen to this.
Money on the mouth, Vernon. I can't see him on my camera. My shit off, fuck, so it don't even matter. Oh shit! Oh Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh Jesus! Oh Lord Jesus! Oh shit! Whoa! That was awesome right there! God damn! Wow! Shit!
Get ready.
Oh shit! Oh Lord Jesus! Oh Jesus! Get the water, nigga! Jesus Christ! Lord have mercy! Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Oh, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
What was that?
That's just the audio of the guy getting his hand blown off.
No.
His cousin was taking a video of it. That's the audio.
But when he was first, he was like, "That was awesome."
Well, something good happened, I guess, and then his hand got blown off.
But when all the noise was going off, he was saying that was awesome. And
Right.
Then, and then all of a sudden,
And then he yelled out, "Get the water!"
it all sounded like Aunt Bunny falling down the stairs to me.
Oh God!
Can we play the Aunt Bunny sketch?
We know we did. We added. Well, you probably don't have that, Dan. We took that audio and we put it into when the Hindenburg crashed.
I do have that.
Okay.
Just give me a second.
We edited like if he was the guy when the Hindenburg fell. Remember the humanity?
Yeah.
Oh God!
If he were the
That's like-
announcer.
yeah.
And
Tell me when you're ready.
We had fun with audio. Go ahead, Dan.
It's starting to rain again. The rain had slacked up a little bit.
Money under Mount Vernon.
The back motors of the ship are just holding it just enough to keep it from... It bursts into flames. Get it started. Get it started. It's crashing. It's crashing terrible. Oh, my. Get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames, and it's falling on the morning fast, and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's...
Lord Jesus. Oh, shit.
Oh, 400 or 500 feet into the sky, and it's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and it's flames
going
now,
down.
and the
Lord Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
all the humanity and all the passengers feeding around it. I told you, I can't talk to people. There's friends around there.
Get the water, nigga. Get the water,
I
nigga.
can't talk, ladies and gentlemen.
Motherfucker.
Honest, it just laid down massive smoking wreckage, and everybody can't hardly breathe and talk and screaming. Lady, I'm sorry.
Get the water, nigga.
Honestly, I can hardly breathe. I'm going to step inside where I cannot see it.
Get the water, nigga.
Darling, that's terrible.
That's a good order.
Oh, shit.
Listen, folks, I'm going to have to stop for a minute because I've lost the voice. This is the worst thing I've ever
Get the
witnessed.
water, nigga. That was awesome right there, God.
That was awesome. I think we hit the water nigga once already. Yeah. Again, Howard used to play that when a person couldn't sing. He used to play the Hindenburg. Like Paul McCartney's wife would sing background, and you would hear her background. Hey Jude, they'd isolate her voice, and she sounded like a coyote getting choked.
Oh, really?
And she go, hey! It was like, oh, the humanity.
Oh God!
But yeah, Pierre Paul, $40 million he cost himself. That's what they estimated for lighting a fucking M80.
God! Yeah.
But so again, you can know somebody for a long time, especially in comedy. You don't know everything about them. You grew up on a junkyard, you said,
I grew
right?
up in a junkyard in Jersey. Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
I mean, so that was what your father did, and
Yeah.
you had a younger brother. You said,
Yeah, younger brother. Yeah.
and you're both doing well now. You're both successful, and you said he's a psychiatrist.
psychologist.
Oh, okay.
But he moved out of where we were from when he was a freshman in high school, which really changed this psychological culture. It changes when the people that you're around
Right.
suddenly want to go somewhere and do something else. It changed the way you think about things.
Oh
If
yeah,
you're around
what's
a
wrong
bunch
with
of
me?
people-
Right, what's wrong with here?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, I had never, I didn't know anybody.
I get you.
even-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up, in Union, New Jersey, 8 miles from Manhattan, 8 miles
Yeah.
from the most progressive city on the planet. Jersey, Italian, Irish, like Naturman says.
Yeah, working
the firemen
class,
talk
you
my
know,
language.
yeah.
Very working class. And again, my father got to the 9th grade and climbed roofs for a living. That's what he did. And he hustled. He got himself out of the streets, and he installed
Yeah.
cable illegally. He did crazy stuff. When we were 12 years old, he taught 5 of us kids in the neighborhood how to steal cable for the
Yeah.
whole block.
Yeah.
In the early 80s, the cable company put a filter on top of the telephone pole.
Yeah.
That it stopped HBO from coming in.
Right.
And one of the crooked guys who worked for the cable company who sold my father, equipment
Yeah.
for the coax cable to cut it, told him that if you boil the filter for a half an hour, it's rendered useless. So the circuit will go right through.
Oh, that's
So he
interesting.
taught me and my buddies how to. Actually, I just went to one of the kids' funeral. How to go up the pole, get the filter, take it. He'd
Yeah.
boil them all for half an hour. He'd put it back up, and he would tell people in the neighborhood, "I can get you HBO, but it's for this amount of money."
Right,
A flat
right.
rate, and they all wanted it.
I remember when guys were selling the boxes and they would do the flip thing on the box.
Right,
and you'd
right,
pick up all the
exactly.
channels.
There was
Yeah.
all these scams they were trying to figure out.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was the inspector would come by, who was like some nerdy suit, he was going to climb,
Yeah.
and sort of filter. He goes, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're watching,
Yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit. And that's the kind of guy my father was.
Yeah.
Didn't care about how that would affect me in life.
Right.
He was my fucking hero. and you're learning wrong things.
Yeah.
Did your father have any of that in him, or was
A
it
lot of that.
Yeah,
I mean, they started out selling cars on the side of the road. They would turn the speedometers back. I mean,
there's a lot of potential for illegal shit at a junkyard,
street,
right?
and they survived any way they could, and then he ended up doing well, but it was a real rough environment. But at the same time, he was fucking guys.
Okay,
and my
father was
a really
homosexual.
interesting guy.
Right.
I mean, if you want to use that
bisexual.
term.
He was. I said all these fucking guys. I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, guy can't bang a guy without everybody banging him. Suddenly you're homosexual because you like fucking a guy.
Suck one dick, you're a cocksucker.
Yeah, no.
But so that okay.
My mother didn't mind. It was a very strange thing. My
mother
mother was
almost a hippie, right? It's not
my
communist
mother
stuff.
was,
Right,
but
right.
Not my father. That was
So
a
she was
different
open-minded.
world. Yeah, my mother came from another world.
Right.
My father was this guy in a junkyard. My mother was on her way from California to teach Indian piano when she stopped off to visit this lesbian friend of hers who owned a monkey, and they were renting this shitty house from my father. And that's how they met.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, my mother was this classically educated woman, a pianist, and she met this guy who was charming. And,
right. Well, this is my point about comics. At least this is what's great about you don't have to go to work in a cubicle every day. The comics are more, even if you don't like their comedy. I like both these guys' comedy, but they're interesting people. Like Naturman and Dov, they're clearly very interesting people. So you're never bored hearing about them.
You know that
they're interesting guys.
Oftentimes that's
you
the
talk
case.
about
often, right?
You talk about juvenile bad decisions. One time, I shoplifted, loving the time of cholera. I'm not even. By the way, I'm not even kidding.
No, come on. Really?
I have it.
The book "Love in the Time
the book
of
Love
Cholera."
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Nobel Prize winner.
I know that. I did.
Okay, I don't know if he wanted.
That's amazing.
But anyway, I did, and it's still in my mother's, my parents' house in Connecticut.
He's been a rebel right from jump, right from the beginning. You can't keep this kid down.
Well, I thought I had a fucked up story, and then Dov came in here, and in my opinion, blows me away.
No, it doesn't blow you away. No.
Well, we all have our pain, but whatever gets you to steal Love in the Time of Cholera, whatever pain causes that.
I guess I thought I was entitled to it.
But there's an edge to you, though, Dan. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you're not the... You try to compliment me, and it always ends up being condescending. But like he says with the fireman, he goes,
I didn't.
Fireman recognized me, and I went over and said hi. And Dan has to turn that into an ugly moment.
I didn't say it was a.
He goes, well, I said, Dan, come say hi. I said he's a fireman. I go, yeah, you're a comedian too. That's all right. I'm gonna go inside. You
but
talk
I
to
don't.
them.
No, I never said that. I never said that it was anything wrong with it. I just said that's your kind of people.
Right. What does that mean?
You're working class people.
So
what
is
great,
that?
great backbone.
You could communicate with these people.
Backbone of America kind of people.
And I said, if we drove by the Wharton School of Business and there was a guy in a tweed jacket out and he called your name, you'd feel I couldn't talk that language.
No, but you could talk.
Yeah, but but they would appreciate you.
You're so nice to me.
No,
I swear to God,
what are you
I
talking
fool.
about?
I'm a con man. I fool. Well, I know a little bit about a lot of things, and I can.
No, but they would appreciate you.
I follow your logic, Strange. You think very well, very efficiently. You facilitate information quickly.
Right.
You don't always go inward, but the facilitation of information is.
Here's the difference.
He talks. It's like he's a wordsmith.
He throws words around.
But that's interesting.
I'm not throwing it around. I mean, I really mean it. What do you mean? He's very fast.
Yeah.
He thinks on his feet, and he facilitates whatever's going on really readily and smoothly.
But here's the difference: is that as
Loving
I was
the
saying
time
to
of
you,
cholera, he shoplifted this psychopath.
That's what's great about this.
There's a difference: is that the Wharton guy would think you're cool.
Okay.
Because everybody wants to be a little bit bad. And the point I was making about Judd Apatow, where everything is perfect, little Mr. Perfect with the perfect family.
Well, this might be some trouble. You never know. I mean, but
and he's looking at you saying, "If only I could have some cool stories."
But that lasts for 10 seconds. When we were talking, and by the way, Dov is working on Crashing too. He's got a real acting part, and he plays the manager of the. And so it's going to be a cool show. There's a lot of interesting people in it. But I was talking about the situation where here's the difference in people. We were rehearsing a scene where I have to meet a girl at this sort of rehab type place, and we were trying to rewrite it. And Apatow's there with Pete Holmes, a star, and other writers. And I started off a sentence by saying, the first time I went to rehab. And your mother doesn't want to hear you say that. But anyway, that's how I started off a sentence. 2 minutes later, Judd Apatow started off a sentence with this. I was at a dinner party with Bono.
Right.
So, there's,
Yeah,
Judd's not saying that in an arrogant way. There's just a difference in our lives, but you're right. I think, Dan, you think he wants a little street cred there because he's good in the sense that he can't write Rehab the way maybe I could because I was there. So he wants to have that knowledge. But ultimately, I think when he thinks about it, he'd rather be at the dinner party with Bono.
Well, Mark Twain once made the point that we're inevitably interested or engaged by that which we haven't really experienced or aren't able to do.
Right. That makes sense.
There's always the grass is always greener, but not just greener, but having had that experience, like, I don't know. I mean, that's part of what drives you, to wanting to be able to sit down at that table, have that conversation, take out what was positive or valuable at the same time, like, say, here's why you're full of shit.
My niece.
Exactly.
You met my niece?
Yeah.
And she was like, is it true you went to jail? She thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, okay, but that wears off, though.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not, yeah.
See, I think going to Wharton is the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I know, because that's a really, even I know that's an impressive thing, Wharton, right? I mean, that's what Trump says.
No, listen, you have to do well. Yeah, certainly.
My point is, this is what's great about the Comedy Cellar. Like, at the table, this happens. We talk, this conversation kind of happens.
But nobody's smarter than Colin. Than a guy like
nobody,
Colin Quinn.
Nobody. And he's a Brooklyn guy, an Irish guy from Brooklyn, who also talks the language you're talking about, but writes one-man shows about the Constitution every 10 minutes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing.
The prolific writing. But so you throw all of us into this business, show business, that is like, it should be directly the opposite thing of what it is, show business, because it's about creative, and it's not. It's disappointing. It'll disappoint you. It really will. I think. I mean, we've been around it long enough to where you see they don't reward creativity. They don't reward originality. They reward, just do the same thing.
It is a funny thing,
in a different way that they just did it.
Well, and every now and then somebody Trojan horses their way through, but certainly there's no connection between doing a great whatever and then having it hit in any meaning.
Well, like you just gave me a lot of very nice compliments about me, but that's not the reason I've gotten deals. The reason I got deals was because The King of Queens was a hit. They saw a fat guy. They said, well, let's put him in a UPS suit. Maybe we'll get that again. That's why.
There were plenty of guys who wore a husky outfit that they could have given a deal to. They gave it to you for a reason. But no, sure.
But we keep going back to it because, for me, I don't have much else except because I didn't go to college, and it's going to be loading ships for this. And,
ironically, the people who go to college, they can't find work either. Most of them.
It's unreal what's going on right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, if you come out of school with loans, you're not just dipping right into a major law firm. You're going to work in a coffee house. Statistically, that's what's going on.
Not anymore. Yeah.
If you have an English degree or a liberal arts degree, you're not. You're
what are you going to do with
it? Yeah. No, I'm not saying if you come out with a good, what do they call it? The computer engineering guy? Cryptography.
What is your education, though?
I bang a lot of chicks.
Well, that's the other thing. Dov is always at any point the conversation could end because an Arizona 9 walks in.
I got married.
You did?
Yeah, I got married.
When did that happen?
A month and a half ago.
Congratulations! Wow. Okay.
No, thanks. I'm really over the moon about it. No, it's good.
She's not a subscriber. I guess.
Well, I needed the material. The whole.
Daddy, you know what? Congratulations! Seriously, that is okay.
Thanks, man. I feel like it's representative of a kind of psychological evolution in my case, but it is. I'm trying. I had this bit a long time ago. Like I remember fucking things up with my ex, and I was like, I don't want to be one of those guys, hanging out with an open shirt and a gold chain at the club. Like I was always fearful that I'd be on one side of the street, like in front of the Comedy Store, and it's raining and dark, and I'd see my ex on the other side, and it's sunny, and she's got a kid, and she's licking an ice cream cone, And she sees me there trying to convince some stripper I know people with good coke. Like, I didn't want to be that guy.
That's a very specific guy.
I was so fucking afraid.
See, how many people get that specific with a guy? There's a lot of details there.
Yeah, I was afraid.
The fear runs you. There's everything comes out of fear after a certain while. But, what was it about her? Can you say what was it about this woman?
Yeah, right time and place, and there's a lot of chemistry, and it's somebody who you feel like you can walk around and spend a lot of time with without going out of your head.
Well, I had a girl. It was a lot of chemistry. She was a meth dealer.
yeah, sure.
A lot of chemistry.
Yeah, a lot of chemistry.
But that is awesome. I hope it. I wish you well. Do you find the life? Do you do the road a lot? Are you a road guy or no?
I did when I was getting ready for my last hour. I went out. I was out 25 weeks that that year, but I don't know. I mean, in general, I don't know. Like,
No, yeah. Well,
I'm trying to figure out what to say.
I hear
so
you, man. Yeah.
I'm trying to work on the next hour, but then the idea of putting out an hour is like you burn it, and then it's
How many have you done?
2.5.
You've done 2 specials. I mean.
2 specials, 2 hours. Yeah.
2 hours. Dan, do you do the road a lot?
I've been doing one-nighters mostly, corporate gigs, because clubs.
How do you get those? I mean,
I get them through Johnny Lampert, who's my manager.
Right,
so,
okay. Those are good gigs. I mean,
I like them. I don't like doing clubs. I can't. I just have a hard time.
It's ugly out there, man. The crowds are.
It's not even the crowd.
Ugly.
It's just a whole weekend in that hotel on the side of a highway with nothing to do, and it's depressing.
Well, that's what I mean. If you bomb because you realize these are idiots, if the combination of idiot and politically correct is the most nightmarish comedy club attendee.
But that's not. That's
could
not
you
for
imagine?
me.
You're dumb and you get offended by everything.
Yeah, that is a nasty combination.
Oh.
That's That's
you kind of. I'm describing Heidi Klum.
That's like
That's what happened. You got the worst one. You said German.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dan Naturman is getting a real funny guy who's been a comic for a long time is getting evaluated by a German supermodel on national
Could you
television.
imagine?
I want out. If that's what it is, I want out.
I
And
know.
Howard is sitting there, taking the check. Say something. It's not offensive. It was a funny joke.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Come on.
It's
Dan?
so fucking.
Well,
unreal.
I tried to complain because I knew what I was getting into. It's like I can't, it's like a girl goes to a frat party and she's drunk, she gets raped. Well, I feel bad, absolutely.
This took a downward spiral.
I would caution.
The guy took whatever sympathy everybody had been experiencing for him and threw it on his head.
I'll go with the rape
I'm
analogy.
just saying. I'm saying yes, terrible thing, no question.
Right.
But you shouldn't maybe drink too much of the frat. That's a terrible analogy, and
I don't. You fucking
I'm
lost
just saying.
me.
I'm just saying. I went into Heidi. I went to Heidi. I went to do a reality show.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're going into. It's like
You
going
feel
to
that's mistake one.
I'm going. It's like you're going into an environment that is dangerous.
Right, okay.
They could fuck you like they did with Matarese.
Yes.
All right.
Our friend Joe Matarese. What they did in the editing is astonishing.
Matarese is like the rape victim.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
I like it better.
You know what I'm saying? You went to the frat party. You got drunk.
And you raped Joe Matarese.
You got raped. Now I feel bad for you, but next time don't go to the frat party and get drunk. But
Dub, do you have anything?
you know what?
Dub usually defends Dan.
But
in this case,
I
it's
take
hard
it back.
But if ever I were gonna, if I take advantage of a guy physically, Matarese would be a good way to go.
But no,
I felt like I was the drunken chick at the frat party.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And the editors were the rapists.
And
They were
Heidi Klum was the rapist.
Heidi Klum was
All
the
right.
Duke lacrosse team.
So
he was a frat
fair
guy,
enough. She's at fault. She's no question about it.
Made me so mad.
But-
Like
but
this
I should
perfect
be-
human being.
I should be more prudent next time.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a terrible analogy because rape is, terrible.
Let's
thing.
stop harping on
All
it.
right, I'm trying to dig myself out.
Maybe the analogy isn't long enough, Dan.
You know what I mean. I know what
I think I do.
Analogy,
what
you're right, Art. The analogy lacked the length. That's what the problem with his analogy was.
My critique is longer.
I knew what I knew what I was getting into, and the possibility for that.
Did you really? But did you know the extent that
I knew you
that
were a reality
joke?
show.
Okay,
But I know I didn't
But
know.
she that stupid, where all she heard was German with no context at all.
I didn't know that would happen. I knew something was going to go down.
That is crazy.
All right, you go
that's
after talking to a bad neighborhood. You don't know who's going to jump you, but somebody
Okay,
might.
yeah, but
I'm making another analogy.
And she says you offended.
I'm going to
She says you offended. I feel like I go, okay, make terrible analogy, 15 terrible analogies in 10 seconds. Go.
I go into
Rape, black guy in an alleyway. Some broad.
Okay.
I knew something was going to jump out at me, and I didn't know that was going to be it, but.
Insult St. Jude's Hospital. Insult it. Go.
All right.
Yeah, no.
But listen, if you told me.
I said a bad neighborhood. I didn't say a black neighborhood. You just.
What's the difference?
You just kind of invented the whole thing.
That's right.
Well, listen. If someone tees up an offensive joke, I'll probably swing every time. I burned every bridge. I burned all the bridges you can burn in this business. At a crack house once, I burned Todd Bridges. Talk about splitting the room. That joke doesn't.
Yeah, they'll split it right up.
The older people get
I
it.
just want to clarify that rape is wrong.
Oh my
And I
God!
do
What do you
not-
think? You're gonna lose a deal at Netflix or something? Who's my cousins are listening? They thought it was hilarious.
Okay.
That's all it listens. So I can get to subscribe. A lot of people steal it, apparently. 10-year-olds steal it for their older uncles.
Fireworks really do look nice.
Yeah, well,
They do. It's really pretty because you see them through the buildings on the other side. It's really interesting way to see them.
it's like the honeymooners. It
I've
comes
seen
up
them
over
from the other side.
Oh, there
it's
you
like
go.
the beginning. It's like the beginning of Manhattan with Woody Allen.
That it, right? Exactly.
Beautiful.
We were
New York
talking.
was his town.
Yeah.
I think about all the
He
three.
strolled the streets with the magnetism of a jungle cat. Like
That's
kind of-
funny stuff.
We saw. We were talking earlier because you have a view of the Hudson. You can
Yes.
see if whether you saw Sully land a plane from your apartment.
And guess where when I bought this place, for one of the first things I thought of, what if a plane crashed right in the Hudson? I always thought of that. Guess where I was? Our life. I was getting off a plane in Tampa to do a gig.
Oh wow.
And this kid I used to travel with who opened for me, he had his phone out and he goes, "A plane just landed in front of your building." And guys, it was right there. I would have watched it. I was going to a gig in Tampa.
Would you rather crash land into the Hudson or just land regularly in Tampa? Is the question.
During Hurricane Sandy, I went to Minneapolis because I had a gig, and I said to the guy, "Until my electricity comes on, can I stay in Minneapolis?" The guy goes, "Yeah." And at the end of the week, I said, "You know what? Minneapolis with electricity is a tad better than New York without it."
That's right. Yeah.
But you're right, Tampa. I stayed in Tampa where everybody has a hot tub and they want you to go in it.
But if you like a cigar, there's real value in Tampa. Going to the old Ybor City, but outside of the
Tampa's
cigar
one of
game,
those cities, guys, isn't it? Tampa with the audience. The guy has money and you don't know why. He's wearing flip flops.
Yeah.
And he's got a wife. Who you want to go. He's had a hot tub, and he wants you to go in the hot tub with him and his wife.
yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well,
Why?
because they're swingers, and that's
Right,
Tampa's like I think it's a big swing town.
Our neighbors are coming over. Yeah.
Yeah.
They inherited money, so they got nothing to fucking do.
Yeah, Florida's chopped up into different kinds of weird.
It's crazy, Florida. If a drug, look, I've done every drug there is. There's good and bad in every one of them. Well, there's all bad in some of them, but and there's all good in some of them.
Yeah.
Usually, right at the beginning is when you find all the good.
Right.
And but if bath salts, if a drug makes you eat your friend's face on the side of the highway, I probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
There's no up to that.
There's no up. I mean, it's not even. But even the people that have had positive experience, like it's not a good drug. It's one of those drugs you do if you just.
Right, you just get you anxious.
Yeah, it looks horrible.
What drug are you talking about?
But bath salts, it's like a synthetic type of ecstasy. I always said about crystal meth. My joke has always been like crystal meth is a good drug if you need to walk to St. Louis.
Right.
It's great if that's on your to-do list.
Yeah.
But I always, in the beginning, I liked the social drugs, the blow and everything. But then, heroin represented isolation and just euphoria, and you remember your problems, but you don't give a fuck about them, and you don't want to see anybody. That's what happens, and then eventually you're not off on the biggest radio show of all time. Kathy, my favorite thing.
What
ever,
a life you've had.
Kathy Griffin is crying, telling Howard about the time she told her mother she was nominated for an Emmy.
Oh,
she's almost crying. In the background, you hear this. I'm snoring. I'm snoring.
Oh, God. I mean, tragic, but so great.
Kathy goes, "Can he leave? Do we have to do this?
Oh,
this is an important part of my life." They kick me out. I kick out her makeup person to go to sleep in one of the dressing rooms. Oh, she's mad. They don't wake me up till 3 in the afternoon. I wake up. They never woke me up. The whole show went by.
Amazing.
It was terrible. But I told them I'm open about this. I have to have a nose operation because I fell off the wagon in February.
Yeah.
And I've known this girl for 15 years. She was 23 years old when I met her in Boston, smoking hot with a Southie accent.
Yeah.
I always said she was a first-round draft pick in 1984, and now she's got bad knees, ready for the Hall of Fame speech.
Oh, wow.
But she's still good-looking.
Yeah.
2 kids. She shows up at my gig in Boston in December, finds the hotel at 4 in the morning. Haven't seen her in 10 years. And she got blow on her, and she looks stunning. And I said to myself, this is the devil. And I fell for it.
Yeah.
And went on a 2-week run. I brought her on the road with me.
Wow.
A day before I have 3 sold-out shows in Pittsburgh, I'm making good money. She hits up a painkiller, oxycodone, with a salt shaker.
Right.
And the salt shaker breaks, unbeknownst to her. And I snorted glass.
Oh, my God.
I wanted to strangle her.
Oh, my God.
Strangle the life out of her. And I go on stage in Pittsburgh. The first 2 shows, fine. Third show, 4 minutes into an hour set, my nose starts to bleed like a Brian De Palma movie, like a fake blood. It was just coming out of me. And the Pittsburgh crowd, God bless them, they're radio fans.
Yeah,
and it's like an intimate thing. They were worried about me. They didn't boo. They were like, "Are you okay?" Guy comes up, gives me a napkin, and says, "Here, take this." He hugs me, and I go, "Well, now everything's happened." Everything's
my
happened
God.
now.
There's nothing you haven't experienced.
Well,
at this point.
and in a way, I said, guys, you could see me do my dumb act and get laughs, or you could see this happen.
I saw
Yeah.
you the
Possibly
other.
the last thing that's ever.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I got the money, and I
God,
went to the
life.
doctor, and
Yeah.
I saw you at Just Gow
yeah.
the other night when you had your nose was like that.
Oh,
but I was like, you didn't say anything, so I was
what
like,
am I going to do? Because I forget
well,
sometimes.
so I figured like when your nose is in that, like, hey, Dan, what's up? By the way, this is
Well, again, so now I got to go shoot this fucking show. I think I'm going to get fired, and thank God Appetite. So, well, you're playing you.
Great.
We'll just work it into the show.
Yeah,
you
no, it
know?
would be so unique and memorable.
So I'm telling everybody it's great makeup.
Yeah.
And, so it ends up like they can CGI. I don't know, fuck, the conversations I have. But so I was open with him. I said I told him what happened.
Yeah.
And they're going to do the story in the show.
Great.
And I said, let me cast the chick. Can
That's
I please
great.
cast the chick? Because I'm going to make her fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
They did another story of mine in Albany. And for Christ, I'm writing the goddamn show. I'm going to make Pete Holmes a
Well, of
billionaire.
course, you take your stories are tremendous.
Yeah, and Gina Gershon played the chick
Yeah.
in this. And so I know the real chick that Gina Gershon's playing, only me.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, they are really flattering that chick.
Yeah.
She's going to be very happy with the casting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
again, experience life, and the good and bad happens. When the bad is happening, you're horrified.
Yeah.
That was horrifying when I did that. Like I said, it's over now, How am I going to, what's going to happen here? And that's where the business is an enabler. But I think, I went back to a meeting and I got back on track. But the point is, I'm paying for my past.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because you see this and they go, well, clearly you're fucked up again. But I said to Apatow, if I was doing the amount of drugs that can make the nose look like this every day, I would not be functioning.
Right.
You would have fired me
Right. No,
2
that makes
weeks
sense.
ago.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
But were you ever? What about drugs? Were you ever?
I was never big into, luckily I never had a really
Good for
addictive
you.
personality.
I mean,
listen, I've had lovely evenings with cocaine and prostitutes, but I feel like
would you say women as a vice to you? Would you say that?
Well,
we'd have to define vice, but
I knew.
Right. Okay.
and Dan has his opinion.
Well, I knew Dove in the heyday, and
His heyday, right? Okay.
well, I mean, people define like of addiction is like if it interferes with your
if
functioning.
it affects your life in a negative way.
I don't know that I would say that about Dove, but sometimes it affected like my fun because we'd
Why?
be
What
hanging
happened?
out, we'd be hanging out and having a good time.
Your
and then all of
fun.
Well,
What is your fun? Not talking to firemen?
Yeah.
we'd be hanging out having a good time, and all of a sudden Dove would lock onto a chick,
Well,
and I'd be like, "Hello, Dove, are you in there?" And it'd be like another planet.
Well,
and then he would, and then that the evening would be over, and then
You know why you don't do that though? Because he knows there's a shot at fucking her. Like guys like me and you abandon it because that's just like looking at a painting. But what happens is I've hung out with famous. I said this before. I shot a movie in Germany with Cuba Gooding Jr. and I went to a club with him on the Rhine River, and all these women are around him, and of course he was being good. He's married. Yeah. And he stepped on a pussy landmine and I got hit with shrapnel. I mean, I fucked the hottest chick I've ever fucked in my life that night because she thought I was like the co-star. I had 2 lines. And I went back to the hotel. I was pointing at shit. The language barrier. I was like a bed doorknob. 6 a.m. call the next day. I had to get her the fuck out. I told be on the set at 1. You could be in the movie. I told you, believe me. Smoking hot.
It's funny though. We grow up having internalized this idea that that'll create some form of happiness, right? That all the options and the broads and the thing, and it doesn't work like that.
No.
And it's inversely related. And the more options you have, the more anxiety it produces, and the less able you are to sustain connections with one person because there's another something coming down the
Well,
line.
that's true of life too. If you have God made me good at one thing, so I could focus on it. I know a lot of guys that. You could be a model, an engineer, whatever the fuck, and they can't focus on something. And before they know it, they're 45 and they've done nothing because they couldn't focus. Yeah. It's this or loading trucks. So I was like, fuck it. It's
well, but the problem is that when that happens with women, when there are a lot of options and people aren't able to handle that, if they didn't have good models as parents and then internalize some idea of what it means to sustain connection and real emotional sort of, I mean, if you don't, you can really chase your tail for a long fucking time, and it doesn't end in smiles generally. It doesn't,
I don't find Dove to be in general. Some people really get joy out of certain things,
right?
And even if it's short-lived, I never found that with Dove.
That's right, that he gets
You know,
joy
I mean,
out of.
if I ate out a young lady once in Dove's apartment.
I mean, who would think you took every conversation to the gutter?
And it was so pleasant and enjoyable,
It was very
and
pleasant.
I don't know that Dove ever
You
had
weren't
that
raping.
kind of fun eating a
I
pretty
know
girl
what
out.
you
I think
mean, yeah.
and Dove would
A pretty girl.
Dove would,
Eating a pretty girl. Yeah.
Dove
I
would
think you're
throw,
right
Dove would
there.
throw
Well,
away-
there's the act of coming, you know, and then a kid said a very profound thing about Coke once in rehab. He said, the best part about Coke is going to get it. And that is so true. And pussy is the same way. You're looking forward to something.
Yeah.
And then...
I don't know. Dove didn't look forward.
Anticlimactic.
I don't think Dove looked forward.
Well, you did, right?
I think
mean,
he just had to bust a nut and
Well, that's what you want. That's what you're looking forward to. But
yeah,
then
but
after that,
he wasn't
forget
looking
it.
forward to it. He did something he needed to do. Like
I know what
Out of
Dan's
anger?
saying.
Do you feel you're angry at women and you
Well,
want to...
no. I think what Dan's referring to is if there's a kind of compulsion, if it is a vice to that degree,
Right.
you don't always enjoy the thing as much. You know, I mean,
No.
when somebody's doing heroin just to not get sick, you're not enjoying it the
Terrible.
same way you did in the beginning.
Terrible.
And so sex,
Right.
I mean,
Not
in a
even close.
very,
Right.
very small way, can
you
be
chase
like
the
that. I'm not-
high.
perfect analogy. Didn't do it to
Right.
get
You chase the high.
Did it to get to not get
And the
sick.
first time you have sex the
Right.
right way, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
in a way, you chase that, you know, and you're right. You're 100% right with dope, man. You know, that first couple months it's. I mean, people have written. Art has been created because of heroin. You know,
Oh, lots of it.
Pussy and heroin is usually. I mean,
Yeah,
they
lots
try
of
to
it,
figure
sure.
it the fuck out. And you
Yeah.
know, the song I think that nails it the most, ironically enough, is Sister Morphine by the Stones is pretty close, but that's even two, whatever. But Comfortably Numb by
Yeah, Comfortably
oh my
Numb,
God, I
wow,
can't
yeah.
even. If I'm trying to stay clean, I can't listen to
Wow,
that. You know,
yeah.
like that's a trigger.
Right,
You know,
sure.
Dove used to throw away girls that you would spend that
That's
any
fasc-
normal
that's
guy
fascinating,
that
yeah.
any normal guy would spend months with sending poems, flowers.
sending Paul.
Dove would have one night stands with women
Yeah.
that like tens.
Well, there are guys like that.
And then they'd come to the cellar the next day and Dove would be like, "Oh fuck, she's here, man." What?
See, I know it's funny. I relate to that in a certain way because after I got a little fame, I was able to. There were women I would bang and I go, you know, if I was a longshoreman, you know, I would try to write poems, but I'd be that guy. But I get kind of what you're saying, but you're truly kind of a ladies' man. You'd be getting that if you were, you know, a mechanic. So with me, it's an extra thing of like, why the fuck? I really am insecure about why they want to be with me on
Right,
any level.
yeah.
Because clearly you talk to them. Do you really think I'm funny? And you realize, no, they have no idea why I'm funny.
I know what you mean.
And they go, you're my type. And I go, really? In high school, you had a poster of a manatee instead of John Stamos?
Yeah, but isn't the game in life is trying to get closer to some net happiness, right? It's not to chase everything that other people say is going to make
Right.
it look good.
Defining what happiness is and then trying to get it. But I can't even do the first part. You know?
No, I know. Well, no, you're a special case.
But do you define what happiness is? Do you think you know what it is?
Yeah, trying to get
okay.
close. No, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I know trying to achieve some level of contentment, right? So that I'm not driven towards excess.
Right.
So I'm not driven to go after that thing. It's not in money. Listen, money's great.
Sure.
If you need a roof over your head, money's tremendous.
Hey, look, it just is. You know, it's not shallow. Even like people go, oh, we
No,
did
but
that
it
all for
isn't
the
after you have the roof. The problem is if you have a third car, a third house, then money often works against people. There's
Yeah.
a lot of misery out there.
It'll
Sit
destroy
at
you.
Cipriani over on West Broadway and see those miserable cocksuckers
Right.
there,
That's a good
looking
point.
around, turning to see who has what.
It'll destroy you.
That's when it's not good.
Well,
it's good when you need it, but people are not built to sustain and have things. They're not good at having things.
Right.
They're good at going after it, and then you got to sit with
great
it and
point,
figure
yeah.
out what it is.
I love the chase. In some ways, I was more happy struggling in my early 20s.
sure.
than when-
But
'cause
you were
had-
also in your early 20s, which
Yeah.
has its own.
Right, that's what I
If
mean,
you
yeah.
had to have the struggling now in your not so early
It's rough. It's rough.
40s,
You know, and
it
that's
wouldn't
why
be so fun.
Yeah,
Every
I'm
time
not
I
talking
fucked up,
about
that's what I
bills.
saw. You know?
No, listen. If somebody's got bills, money, there's a correlate between money and happiness. But after
Sure.
that, there really isn't. If it's about your third house, it's not.
Doesn't matter.
There's no bump at that point.
What the line in Wall Street? How many yachts can you water ski?
Yeah,
back?
yeah, sure.
Or you know, that's completely true. Is chasing it sometimes.
And
is
if
better.
you get involved in false gods, I used to work on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange when I was
Right.
20. That's why when I was working down there, and
Right, that's right. You did that too.
yeah,
That's right,
and it felt so. I had a $10,000 raise in
You're alive.
my second month working there. and I could have done well down there, and when I just there was something that
You
hit.
could
I
have
said,
done
this
well.
is
You know what?
soulless. I could have done well. Yeah.
I got to take the lead. Keep that. I got
Yeah,
to
yeah, do your thing, yeah.
But no, I want to ask you about that when I come back to it, because
Yeah,
what made you think about what you gave up there, maybe?
Yeah, I know what I gave up.
Money-wise, though.
I know what I gave up.
All right, I just so I want to break, I guess.
But I like that. I like controversial. I'm not a shrinking violet. I like Artie Lang. I like his comedy.
Falato.
We're rolling.
No, so did you look at other people who had success at Wall Street? Is that what did it to you? Like you looked around and go, I don't want to be that guy?
Man, I mean,
You were 20, literally?
I know deeply that it's not going to bring. It was also felt soulless. Like I didn't want to have that kind of journey in life. I mean, it's just about the bottom line.
That is all that's about. That's all about money.
Listen, I mean, there are guys in high levels of finance. George Soros is writing books and philosophy, and also really interested into arbitrage and doing some really complicated
Warren
stuff.
Buffett gave it away, a lot of it, right? I mean, whatever that's true about that, but he said, I got to do something worthwhile with it.
How can you not?
Right.
You know, I mean, how do you not? What kind of fucking gavone? What kind of scumbag? What do? You sit on it? You
What
jerk
do you
off
do?
to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
You don't want to be a glutton like that. You know?
Well, and Dan, you could have done everything with those degrees.
Well,
you said,
no, that's
brother?
not so fast now.
What the fuck, Jesus?
Well, hear me out.
Do you have another rape analogy you want to crowbar into them?
It's a lot like rape.
I was eating out a stockbroker.
No, the truth
It's
is,
like making an underage broad. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
The truth is, I graduated from
Story's already
Wharton, and I didn't have good grades.
Right.
So I tried to get a job on Wall Street.
So what does that mean? That means you got the
didn't have
degree, but
good
they look and they go, it's meaningless then, because
It wasn't meaningless, but to get a job on Wall Street, you needed about a 3.5. I had about a 3.0.
Really?
Yeah, and it just wasn't enough to get those kinds of jobs.
He's talking about a
So it's
specific
for
kind
the-
of job.
Right,
And the rest of the story is he could have had a 4.0 if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But he was wrapped up with his own
I couldn't have had a
psychology.
4.0 if I wanted to,
Well, what
because
were
I was
you-
tremendously depressed in college.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Now, what was that
In high
about, though?
school-
Because
high
of
school-
social issues, you were tremendously depressed,
Because
right?
In
he
high
was the
school-
first one, and he was the first one that the pharmacist had ever heard about. He was waiting online, the pharmacist, to pick up an antidepressant subscription. What
Right.
was it?
Prozac.
The Prozac. And Dan walked up to the window. Yeah. So he's got a bunch of people behind him he goes to school with. And the pharmacist said, hey, this Prozac, Dan. How is it? Dan said, could you keep it down?
Oh, God. That's embarrassing back then,
Well, but
too.
nobody knew at that time what Prozac
What
was.
Prozac
It
was,
just
okay.
came out. But in high school, I had really good grades, and then it just kind of all fell apart for whatever reason. Maybe I wasn't psychologically ready to go to college.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But a 3.0 was very easy to get at Wharton. I could basically
It
do
was?
almost nothing at all and get a 3.0. And
A
that's in
3.0's easy
And
at
that's in
Wharton.
fact what I did, is almost nothing at all.
No, but Dan picks up.
think you're right.
Dan's a sponge his information.
Well, I don't know.
he taught himself French and then went to Paris.
that's insane.
You know.
That's unbelievable. French.
Yeah, he's not
how do you
teaching-
do that?
Yeah,
How do you teach yourself
well,
French?
Believe me, the average MC at New York Comedy Club can't walk through a 3.0 with Wharton. Maybe Dan can walk through a 3.0.
Yeah, I don't think Bruce can do it.
But in any case, so I didn't have good grades. I wasn't able to get a job on Wall Street. That's why I ended up going to law school, because I'm like, oh, well, what do I do now?
Oh, okay, there's your fallback. I'll just go to law school.
You know.
I mean, that's
Fordham
pretty
Law, good
impressive.
law school, yeah.
Fordham Law that you were insulting before. There was as not being a good law school.
No, it's fine. It's just not NYU or Harvard or Penn or Columbia or those places.
Okay. Well, those
Three
are
best in
standards.
the country.
Right,
All right.
those are standards you give. Well, that's nothing wrong with that. That's good, nothing wrong with giving yourself those standards. But
But
then you
look,
get through law school, then what?
the whole point is at the end of the day, as much as I tried to deny it,
Right,
I wanted to be in show business.
right.
But I didn't come from a family where show business was a consideration, was a possibility. Was
Well, what am
something
I,
to
the
do-
Flying Melendez? I mean, me too. I mean, look, listen. I mean, not many people do. That is hard though, because no one in your family giving you some advice. As much of a fuck up as I am, if some kids starting out comedy, a cousin of mine, I could give them some like landmines not to step on.
yeah.
Don't jerk off a foot from Christina Applegate when she's getting fitted for a costume.
Yeah.
What? Oh, forget it. That's advanced.
No, but there's a big psychological jump
Right.
bridge,
Well, Absolutely. But you have issues that are unique to you that, and we're the same in a lot of ways. I think. Do you think it all stems from like women? Like you couldn't get women in college? Is that why you're depressed?
Well, first of all, Well, I think it had a lot to do with it. Yeah.
Sure, and that's not doing everything. I mean, I think they talk about Hitler couldn't get into art school. There's a real quick thing they go over in one of his biographies where there was a woman he was in love with who didn't want to date him, and they brush over it. I guarantee that broad caused 6 million deaths. That chick,
I'm sure she had something to do with it. Although I'm sure
2 mil will give
she
her.
had something to do with it.
Yeah,
had something to do with it.
He broke her heart, broke his heart, and I bet she was Jewish. That's what happened.
Well,
she was Mexican, and he would have moved to Mexico City.
Yeah.
The art school was one thing, but I think a woman, and with gay men, I think it's a guy or love. Getting denied something the heart wants, I think, is the root of a lot of shit. Certainly depression.
But it's all about what you do with it. Ideally, if you get your heart broken, you don't want to turn to a genocide.
Right, no. That is a bad reaction.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to
That's
go.
a bad. Listen,
we've all had our heart broken.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But
now my only solace at this point is most of the girls that I pined over at college are unfuckable now.
Right.
And
that's a great thing.
Which is some
someone's fucking
some
them.
solace.
Someone's fucking them.
But it's tragic too, in a way, when you see those girls you went to school with. And
well, do you look them up constantly?
I have done. And it's
I have.
That's what they say in England.
Trolling them with a different name on Twitter.
I have done.
In England, they say
I have done.
What does that mean?
Some say twice a day I've done it. I have done. I have done.
No, that's how the English speak. They say I have done.
I have done.
I will do.
Well, you're not in England. You're in Jersey. I mean,
but I've done that, and it's sad, really, when you see these women that back in the day, and they were like, oh my God, they're the most beautiful girl in the world, and now you look at them and it's not so terrific. So
a chick I was completely in love with. You lose track. There were these two, both dead now, so I could talk about this. Frank and Dean Remo. They were the Remo brothers, and I thought they were the coolest guys in the world, especially Frankie. Dean was my age. Frankie was 2 years old, and he was like Fonzie. When we were 14 years old on Saturday afternoon, there was a department store that sold everything, including camping equipment, and we would go steal shit. There was no security back then. We put shit down our sweatpants like a hammer.
Did they carry books there?
There were the cholera. No, the cholera thing. No, it was not there. There was a camping place, but no love at the time of cholera, and the Remos would not have been into that book. So we see a canoe. Okay, Frank says to me and Dean, he goes, "I'm going to steal that canoe," and we said, "You can't do that. That's impossible. You're not going to get out of here." The security guards were the kind of guys who was either working at White Castle or there, like big gut, older guys, sloppy. And he goes, well, think about it. Nobody steals a canoe. He's not going to think I would ever do that. So he probably assume I bought it. I'll walk right out, wave to him. I go, all right, you're not going to get away with it. So he was the kind of guy who would try that. He takes the canoe off the wall very casually, and he walks through the front door of the fucker, and exactly what Frankie said would happen happened. The guy goes, all right, have a good weekend. And Frank walks out with the fucking canoe on his head. And me and Dean are right in back of him. He gets out in the parking lot. It was so funny. We're about 10 yards behind him, and you see him laughing. You see the canoe going up and down. Just laughing.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets home, and he steals the canoe. All right, next day, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my buddy Mike calls me up and goes, did you hear about Frank Remo? I go, no, what happened? He goes, he got arrested. I go, fuck, with the canoe, do they know where he lived or something? What happened? He goes, are you sitting down? I go, no. He goes, sit down, because you're going to laugh for like 10 minutes. I go, what happened? He goes, he got caught the next day trying to steal the oars.
Oh, no.
Okay? He takes the oars. There was a fence we used to deal with who used to buy stereos from us and like escorts, like radar detectors.
Yeah.
He takes it to the guy. The guy's radar detectors and fucking Camaros. He goes, what am I doing with a canoe? He goes, if you get the oars, I can probably give you $80 for it. He goes back, has the oars. He's taking the oars out, and the best part is the end of the story. The security guard sees the oars and goes, hey, did you take the canoe? Columbo. And Frank goes, yeah. I said, why did you tell me? He goes, oh, he had me dead to rights. So the guy goes, did you take the canoe too? He put two and two together. Great. So he did. He ends up doing a year in juvie because of it, because of his priors.
God, yeah,
because he had priors. He went into the year. So this chick, the point of the story is the chick I was in love with. All right. I go to LA, I come back. I had been on Mad TV for a year, like 29 years old. I didn't know what happened to her yet, like in life. Facebook wasn't around. Yeah. I go, what? Now we'll call her Angela. I'm not going to say her real name. I got my buddy, what happened to Angela? What's she doing? She married Frank Remo.
Oh,
That's
God.
fantastic.
Oh, what a great story.
I go, they're near a lake? Because he has, I think he has
It's a great story. Yeah.
he could canoe with her. She married Frank Robin. Yeah.
Yeah. Natterman's first arrest took place when he went back for the cover of the book.
I went.
Love at the time of
He
Colorado.
tried to get the cover.
Yeah. He had only got
No,
the
I
inner
went for,
pages
I went
first.
for-
Did you take the book too?
I
My favorite part is the dumbest guy.
I gotta
the
re-
dumbest guy in
read
that
it.
story is a security guard.
I went back for an itty bitty book light. That in the old days when you didn't have you couldn't read on Kindle, so you needed a book light.
If a chick broke your heart, the best answer to the question, "What's she doing now?" is she married Frank Remo.
Right, Frank. That's so great.
They're both dead now,
Yeah.
those kids.
Really?
Armed robbery. He got shot.
Oh my God.
In an armed robbery. Unloaded gun he had. And,
See, that's the danger in growing up in these environments where some behavior that you look at
Stories
is
like
cool
that, yeah.
or what. It's so fucking systemically. You look later on in life and see what happens. It
I
gets
know.
so bleak, man.
I know. It just was. There was a lot of kids who were genuinely crazy people,
Yeah, I
and
know what you mean.
were bad. Bad guys. I got to the point at the port when I was a longshoreman. I was borrowing from a guy. I like to pay a bookie. Now that's just a matter of time before I don't have the money one weekend, and the loan shark says to me, "Look,
Terrible,
fuck the
yeah.
money. I'll take this bag somewhere."
Yeah.
And then before you know it, what am I doing? I'm next to
Yeah, I
Frank
had like
Remo.
10 good friends in high school. Yeah, 2 of them are now.
It's
yeah.
easy. That's why I this life is. I mean, I won the fucking lottery. I'm an overachiever. I feel like one of my guidance counselors said, I was going to be a shepherd or something.
Yeah. Sure.
Like I made it out of that.
Yeah, you're the opposite of me. Everybody said, "Oh, this guy's gonna go far."
You're an underachiever. You're an underachiever because you don't benefit from the fact that you're a bright guy.
Yeah, I don't like that Dan knocks himself though. I think people
neither.
have to be very careful about their sense of self being too connected to this business.
Sure.
There are
That's
some
a good
real
point. Fuck it.
jackasses
Yeah, right.
who've done well, and there are some also, and there's some really brilliant people who David Tell's not a household name all over the world,
Of course.
and nobody's ever argued
guy's
that
a
he's not a
genius.
tremendous
Right,
comedian.
right.
And same goes for a ton of guys.
Sure.
But it's not.
Well, there's that old question. I mean, the answer's kind of obvious. I might have asked you this in Montreal, Dan, last year. What is more depressing to you, when a talented guy doesn't make it or an untalented guy makes it?
To me?
To me, it's obvious. I think most people have the same answer. But when a talented guy doesn't make it or an untalented asshole makes it.
Well, what's most depressing is when I'm not making it.
Well, you're an example of a really talented, great guy. But what Dov was saying is true. You're attaching success to this business.
You know what this is? It's like fucking prize fighting. You got to be the top 10.
Yeah.
You got to be the top 10 in order to really walk away with whatever. The idea that you can make a living doing comedy,
Right.
assuming you're not over a barrel for any major child support,
Absolutely.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a win in and of itself. You've beat so many odds, but everybody's comparing themselves to the top 6 guys
gotta
who
be
fly.
right.
And who the fuck knows how they're feeling as well? I've known a couple of movie stars, and I've worked with a couple.
Me as well,
And my experience was, listen, I mean, they were happy at times. A lot of those people are chasing their highs, and so it's a fun
Not happy.
thing.
Not happy at
Tom
all.
Irera told me he's sitting there with Bruce Willis, who's one of his good friends. Bruce was miserable. So I think he had just done Hudson Hawk. His box office went through the floor. He was worried about whether or not he gets his next thing and his next project. And once money no longer becomes a problem, something else becomes a thing.
Of course, yeah.
You see these women getting this really horrendous plastic surgery.
A human being
By
will
the way-
create a
by
problem.
the
when
way,
money's
this-
not a problem, a human being will
I'll
create a
grant you.
problem.
what
I'll
I'm
grant you
saying.
I'll
This
grant
is
you
what I'm
everything you're saying. But here's the
I'm
problem.
not discounting what you're saying.
But here's
I'm
here's
only
another
saying.
problem. Is like, okay, it's hard when you don't have the success of the traditional definition of success to know in your heart and in your soul that you're really, really good.
Right, I know
what I'm
that.
saying? So, I'll get off stage, a new joke will work, I'll have a great set, and
Right.
I'll feel like I don't give a fuck if I'm a household name or not.
Right,
I know
right.
I'm great.
There's
and
a high there,
and that's enough.
But how long does that
But that
high
doesn't
last?
last
Well,
because
but
it-
you're saying you're ultimately not a happy person.
Well,
So
that's another story.
What happens though?
His
When does that
disposition-
high get off?
But it's hard for.
been
I
like
think it's
this
hard
forever.
for. But it's
right.
hard for. It's
well,
hard
that's
for,
true to anything you'd be doing. I think.
But it's hard for anybody, I think, to really believe in their talents when they're not being encouraged from the external world.
Right.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
challenging.
mean? It's like
sure,
it's challenging for me to really think I'm that great when I'm not getting the external success.
Well, there's no, you're right. And LA is the only town in this business where a complete idiot, I'm talking about near retarded, can move there and become a billionaire because they become some guy's manager who happens to get syndication.
Every now and
you,
then,
you,
yeah,
you
right,
sold coke and now you have in your backyard. Dan, cut that out. I'm saying they go there, they're retarded. They can't form a sentence, and you're like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, I got $1 billion.
weird. Yeah.
You know, what's his face got syndication. You did, or you find out, yeah, you know, iCarly, I'm her manager. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's
You
weird.
know, I was
It's
banging
weird,
her.
yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's so when Dan. In other words, when you get off stage and that high of that joke, and you know you're smart, you know you're funny, and then what happens is, you know, when that high for me would leave is when you run into the iCarly manager and you see his life and you go, this is fucked up. It's almost like God is fucking with me because this guy can buy and sell me and he's retarded. And I just, you know, wrote a joke that's not easy to do, and you connected with people. They laughed and yeah, what the
But you
fuck?
see how
Something he's never
you see
done.
how human psychology is built. It's always comparing itself to the thing that has more,
Right.
As opposed to the
Right, what I just said is a
99
very
billion
shallow
people.
thing, right, yeah.
No. What you said is totally reasonable.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, you know,
Right.
there's that thing where we're never comparing ourselves to the people that have, you know, that have it so much worse.
There's some young comics, you know, the younger guys we were talking about, and I've said this about Aziz before. It's not really a thing. He comes to the Comedy Cellar, and you know, I don't know if it's insecurity, but he writes. He goes in the corner like a young Dylan, and writes on a pad. Yeah. And I'm like, you know. I've been friendly with him. He's nice to me, but we get it. We get it. You're right. You got to work at it. We get it.
Nice, yeah.
You know, I don't know. He's a nice guy, but I don't. There's no connection at all. He doesn't even try to be that guy.
I know what you mean.
We're having fun. Chappelle hangs, like, you know, people hang.
I know.
I mean, it could be that he just doesn't, you know, he's shy. It's possible.
Fuck you, Dan.
I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility.
Is he shy?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. You know, I don't know. Yeah, okay, I guess he is shy.
No, I don't know that he is or he isn't. It's just a possibility.
When you're doing, you know, an hour and a half of the O2 Arena sold out, you're not shy. And who's buying those tickets? Who's sitting in the last row of Madison Square Garden having a funny time? Like, you know what I mean? I think about that. He's playing the Garden. What Springsteen does. Who's in the last row going, guffawing at his analogies about having brunch with Nick Kroll?
Well, I don't know that anybody's in the back row of the Comedy Cellar guffawing.
That's what I mean. You see everyone, you're ready to go on, and you're in the back row. You look at the people. They don't know they're at a comedy show. They're talking. The row fucking 8,000 at the right. He's playing like Wembley Stadium, for Christ's sake. Who's buying those tickets? What is so special about that act?
Yeah, I don't know.
He made a connection with people that I don't get. I get Kevin Hart because Kevin did a smart thing. You know, he stayed at the All Black Network instead of going to NBC. He didn't splinter that fan base, and he attacked it like Russell Peters.
Yeah,
Russell Peters is doing every old joke for Indian people.
Kevin's also big and acting it out. Aziz is more of an alt kind of, like, it's
I know. Yeah.
It's not a big room act.
Right, exact. That's my point. Yeah, Kevin moves around, and
Yeah, there's a, I mean, the Garden still, I mean, you get me to sit in the back row, but at the same time, you could see it a bit more.
When you see Springsteen, you're like,
when you see Eddie Murphy, you see him like acting that shit out.
Right.
The whole thing is a performance.
And I saw Eddie Murphy at the Garden '87, the big Garden. It was everything he did, even the subtle shit. He's a fucking performer. He's a rock star.
Yeah, exactly.
But even seeing Bruce, I'm like in the back row. I'm going like, is he singing Backstreets or Thunder Road? What's going on?
Right.
And
I mean, there are guys that it doesn't seem like a huge room doesn't seem like Stephen Wright. I mean, Stephen Wright's brilliant jokes, brilliant.
Right.
But what do you see Stephen Wright at the Garden? You got to be out of your mind.
Right. At some point, you go, this was not worth the 50.
Yeah.
But I mean, Dan, did I answer your question?
I forgot my question.
Good.
Oh,
No, I said maybe he's shy. That wasn't a question.
No, maybe he's shy. Listen, first of all, we get on the air, and Dan, the bashing Aziz stops. And all of a sudden, I'm the asshole. I'm kidding. I'm not bashing him either. My point is, he's the go-to guy because he's the biggest guy. Like I never had a problem with Dane Cook as his comedy wasn't my cup of tea, but he was the go-to guy to trash. And some comics sounded a little too annoyed, But they take the hit because they're the biggest guy at the time. I just don't.
What I don't like is when comics or when people conflate genius and fame, and
What
they
is
just
it about with the entertainment business, though? That
Right.
well, clearly you don't want to conflate genius.
but people
and fame.
do.
Well, I know a lot.
Yeah,
You're
people
right.
do.
A lot of people are idiots.
People,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, people.
Not people you think are funny.
Quite frankly, your cousin is fucking enough of him. No, but that
But
is
it's scary. Like, what other business are they looking at the top 6 guys going? If I were a dentist like that, this
well,
constant
finance.
conversation
In
showbiz.
finance, where you were in, I think there's a little bit of that competition. Like Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen. Is there that type of thing with sales and stocks and?
Yeah, but it's not going after the top 6 guys. Like
Yeah.
they're just going after the guy next to the. I don't know. It's like
Right.
there's something about like what I liked about being around my brother's people. I got to experience these just psychologist people.
Right.
You walk into a room, nobody's looking over your shoulder to see who's coming in. Nobody's looking at network.
Very
the
different,
thing and
yeah.
the guy and the thing. They're having genuine conversations and they're interested in what you have
Right.
to say. And you go to a party in Los Angeles, everybody's trying to suss out where the
it's
next
terrible.
what's going on here. Did you know so and so did that? How did you?
I used to
It's like, come on with this shit. Life is too short for this.
I used to do a bit. I abandoned it because I didn't have confidence in it because sometimes it bombed and maybe I didn't do it right. But I used to say in LA, there's so many bullshitters. There's different breeds of bullshitters. Like in one, I said my favorite is what I call the speed bullshitter. A speed bullshitter in LA is like an agent type. They'll say something that's such incredible bullshit that
Incredible,
even
right?
they can't believe it came out of
It's
their mouth.
amazing.
Right. It's impressive.
There's a website
Yeah.
or something that's it's I think it's called Shit I Overheard in LA.
Okay, that type of thing. So what he does is when the bullshit goes to compensate to make himself look like not that much of an idiot, he says 2 things real quick that are less bullshit to like take the
Yeah,
thing off. Like
yeah.
so, what a speed bullshitter does is like, okay, tonight we're having dinner with Jack Nicholson's son. It's his nephew. He knows him. Last night I fucked Jennifer Aniston. I met her. I watched Friends.
That's good.
And again, sometimes it would bomb, and I lost confidence in it. But because I had 14 wild turkeys before, but yeah, like that. That's based on a real thing. But yeah, that's. And I always tried to think of the perfect 2 things.
Yeah, right.
But that's not. Like, that's obviously an embellishment, but not really. That happened.
I know, but as it relates to all this shit, like somebody once said, comparison is a really sure form of self-abuse. It's like, we just got to be careful. Like, you're inevitably
that's a
going to
good point,
compare to
Ron.
whatever.
No.
But it's got to be comparison with perspective,
Right.
If anybody's walking around angry because they don't have a jet, like, it's...
jet.
And by the way... It's
Yeah,
a
you got
fucking-
you're hanging
you
on a
got
jet.
problems. And by the way, it's a psychological game.
A jet.
Because if you're built like that psychologically, then the idea that you didn't have the newest jet would be a
right.
problem.
You're never going to be happy.
It's a
Well,
fucking
it's
hustle.
not the jet necessarily.
No, I'll tell you what it is. Remember when cell phones first came out?
Sure,
Remember
yeah.
they were big, like
Absolutely.
the military cell phone.
Huge.
And you saw somebody with a cell phone, and you said to yourself, "That guy's got it going on."
The
Who
one
spends
Michael Douglas has
$300
in
bucks?
the front, right there on the
Precisely.
beach.
Now, everybody's got a cell phone. Does anybody look at another person's cell phone and go,
Not anymore,
"Oh my God, this
yeah.
guy's got a cell phone"? You can only imagine what
It's
his life is
commonplace,
like. Probably-
yeah, right.
Right. So it's not the phone that does it.
Right.
It's the bump in some perceived status.
It's the
That's
status.
most
But
of
don't
the
you think the
garbage.
person who was
It's
mad,
not the thing.
it switched to something else, though?
If
It's not
everybody
a phone.
had a jet, you'd need something else.
Well,
Of course, it's not a phone. It switches to whatever the
well, that's
person
right.
doesn't
Well,
have.
we all have.
That's a good
we all
point.
have we all have something incredible that most of the people in world history never had, which is
Air
which is the
conditioning.
fact that air conditioning
That's
and
me, man.
the fact
Yeah.
that
It's my favorite invention.
automobiles and
Mine
all that
too.
other shit.
It's
It's-
tremendous.
Me too.
I can't get enough of it.
I forget that you could lose the schematics to the computer. Don't lose the air
No,
conditioning
not AC.
plan.
You can
And,
take whatever you want, not AC. No, you can take
It's
heat.
true.
Take heat. I'll fire up a log, but
And
not AC.
Did you ever hear Todd Barry's bit about that? He goes, "I don't understand people who say they don't like air conditioning. People say that. What is air
Yeah, but
conditioning?
nobody says
it's
that.
It's a. Well, I've heard people say
Really?
that.
I've
They
never
do.
heard it.
Yeah, my mother says.
My father used to say it. And he would say, like, I don't get really. What is air conditioning? It's a definite solution to a problem. It's hot. No, it's not.
That's right.
Yeah. In Jersey, people say to me, "Oh yeah, you know what? We got a shore house. Is it air conditioned? No, with the fan, it's the same thing. No, it's not. How dare you? You want $1,000 out of me for the month of fucking August? And
You
no,
sold your place? Artie?
I did. I sold it. You know what? Again, I had it for a decade. That was a chapter in my life and that was my dream fucking shore house. But you know what I had? I had the end of one relationship that was terrible and all of another one. and it ended in that house.
Yeah,
and I had a lot of good memories and a lot of, but I realized a lot of the good memories were. I wrote both of my books in that house, and that's the one. That's the one part of my career that was both were successes. Everything else had failure in it, and and I wrote them both, so it represented that. But it was, and also I got a good offer. I put a chunk of change away, and. And my mother, when my old man died, I was like I say, I took this burden of the finance thing, and she never had to worry about a bill for a while. But after I sold this house, I could say to her, Mom, really, like, there's nothing. You are fine.
Right.
Like if there's anything in there that's financial, let that go. That's and even for me, if you want, you say, what can I do for you as a mother to a son? Let this guilt go from me and say, like, look, that's the one thing you did right. Yeah. And I gave her no in betweens. Like you mentioned, dentist. Like, if I was like a moderately successful dentist and I had a couple of kids and we had all the things that families do that I never gave her, like a birthday party and my graduation, their graduation. Instead, I gave her, see me sell out Carnegie Hall and see me get a standing ovation then see me go through heroin withdrawals in jail. God. So there's no... Get a phone call. Find me. She found me in this apartment after I stabbed myself 9 times. She found me. Crazy, my 68-year-old Italian fucking mother, who I love to death, who sacrificed a lot. I didn't think she was gonna find me. Yeah, and she found me. I didn't know she was coming over. They were planning an intervention. She fucking found me. I thought some paramedic who doesn't give a shit was gonna.
What an experience!
The guilt that I said. So if you want to help me out.
And this was
let that go. Let at least have money off your head.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
she truly is a person that you thought she would rather have had less money if I was okay.
Oh God,
Well,
are you kidding?
But all of us have that thing. Like if I had that successful dentist life and never had any of my problems, if you gave me a chance at 24 years old to choose, I'd always take the chaos of comedy. I'd always take comedy. I'd always take it.
No, I know what you mean. I always had a thing for chaos too. I remember asking my shrink, "What the fuck is going on in this relationship?"
Right.
We were getting to the point where it was the cops were going to get called, that kind of thing. And he said,
"Get to the Davidoff house."
Yeah, no, he said you got a problem. He said chaos is not a deterrent for you.
Right. No. And me neither. That's a perfect way to put it. Me neither.
Right.
It ain't a deterrent, man.
But you grew up in chaos. So what we got to do is artificially create it. Create
That's so
the
true. I
experience
did.
of it being a deterrent.
And I thought it was normal. It wasn't. Yeah. And then I met normal fucking people. I went to group therapy.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I apologize, but with Puerto Ricans who were shocked in my life. Puerto Ricans.
No, but it really is that thing,
No, I know.
It's like you meet a girl that grew up with good parents. I mean, generally they're not attracted to me if they grew up with good parents, but you meet a girl with good parents, and they chose this guy that you see as boring and staid, and you're like, what do you see in this guy?
No, exactly. No, listen, my last girlfriend was a stunningly beautiful girl, young girl. People, my friends say, what do you have in common? She was born the same year I got my first DUI. That's all we had.
Right.
And the thing is, I realized when she introduced me to her father is realizing a couple of things. One, that his daughter's dating a junkie comedian. Two, he realizes she doesn't like him for some reason. I'm proof that his daughter does not like her. I'm the guy. It's either me or Lil Wayne. You know what I mean?
It's
like
so
she
great.
fucking hates me.
That's so
Why do you
great.
hate me?
Yeah.
What are you doing to me?
But it is strange psychologically.
Yeah.
So you see these people with these circular patterns in their lives, like the stripper that going, "Why do I hook up with a guy that hit me?" It's like because you're dating your coke dealer.
Exactly.
It's like, who do you think you're going out with?
Well, I had this conversation with my sister. My sister is the classiest act. Always had terrible taste in men. So the only time I got involved with my sister's. One of my sister's boyfriends. I said, Stacey, you ever have trouble, you come to me, but I'm going to stay out of it. I had to go. The guy was dealing coke. Yeah. And I said to my sister, Stacey, you got to get out of this. She goes, why? She goes, because he's dealing coke. She goes, how do you know that? I go, because I buy coke from him.
Yeah.
That's a bad conversation. I go, I'll put a microphone on right now. I'll go buy an 8-ball from him. And he'll come out and say, yeah. He'll come out and go, are we going to the christening Sunday?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's a bullshitter.
But when you grew up in chaos and you never have models that represent to you what health actually looks like,
I know exactly.
You're just drawn to whatever shiny, you know.
I saw my father
the eye rock. Go out with a guy who's really into his eye rock. See how that relationship
That'll
works
end
out for
great.
you. It's gonna end wonderful.
Oh, my sister, yeah, she would the shallow. She would marry. She would go out with a guy because his shoes matched his belt.
Yeah, exactly.
The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Go date the tight tank top.
Right.
See how that works out.
And
for
she
you.
was she's very beautiful too. Thank God she got the. My father was skinny. My mother's family can get a little heavy. Not my mother, but thank God she got. I got that metabolism. She got the skinny metabolism.
Right,
I said the guy can take the hit in life. Thank God
he
you're
can take
hot.
the hit. Yeah, right.
It would suck if I was the good-looking one. And you know, so guys were always around, and you know, but I could size them up, man. I'm like, I'm waiting for the call. I'm waiting for the call, and I'll do whatever you want. Yeah, I don't know. It's very like I do. The only thing that gets me by is conversations like this with comics. Like I do, I appreciate you guys in the sense that you're comedians. I like seeing you guys at the Cellar because it means if I'll stay or not. If I don't have a spot, I just go there for camaraderie sometimes.
It's another psychological, the need for a sense of community, you know, and the
This is
ability to share
our
an experience. Otherwise, you start to feel real isolated. And I'm speaking from personal.
No, me too. Look. I did 2 months in LA County Jail, and I got my own cell because I was on Mad TV.
Yeah,
and I didn't know you could do that. A Mexican kid recognized me from the show, got me my own cell, and if you get a red armband. A red wristband, it means you're a murderer, a rat, or a celebrity of some kind. You get your own cell.
Yeah.
So thank God that happened, and the guards were real, like, you know, Man TV, not the highest rated show. Yeah. The guards were like, that's why you're a celebrity? Tell us a joke. I'm like, oh God, please. Yeah, sure. And I went to the guy, whispered. I said, hey, I got one for you. You know where all the cell block, where all the black guys hang out. Sickle cell block. How about that?
There you go.
They laughed for 10 days. Yeah. I got an extra phone call because of that joke. But, okay, they put me in my own cell. Good in the beginning. At the end of 2 months, I was knocking on the guy next to me. I go, hey, let's talk.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I needed to talk.
You need listen. It's a psychological. You know, I mean, there was just a book that was. I think it's called Tribal, Sebastian Younger or something like that. But it was about.
I stole.
It was about the sense of community. No, it was about the fucking.
Oh no, Sebastian Younger. Right, yeah.
No, he did Restrepo. He did the real famous war. He embeds himself. In
right,
Iraq
and at the end, you need people. Right. I've heard about it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's a lot of
but there's look at the guys
tested all these mice in like sort of as it relates to addiction and drugs, and they tested these mice like they had heroin water or coke water.
Coke, it was
like
coke.
That, right?
Yeah, they always go back to the blow, right?
They would go back. They would go back unless they were introducing when they were alone. They would go hardcore
unless they had a chance to be with other mice.
When they were in a healthy mice environment, environment with their family, with a lot of other mice, they were much more likely. They were dramatically more likely to get off, to be able to get relatively clean.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And see, that's the thing that depresses my mother. Because I have that Italian family, I have that, but you know, after my old man fell, that did stop. Sure. There was something that happened. I got, you know, my sister got the fuck out of Dodge as soon as she turned 18. And you know, she moved to Hoboken to get out of the house. But I stayed out of some sense of feeling, guilty. But I started every vice you could imagine. But getting that job at the port, I saved enough money to have that seed money to try comedy. I don't know what, if I didn't have this career, I'd have drank myself to death. It would have been, you know. So in a way, it's not a bad ending.
You know, my wife went to she has borderline stuff, the personality disorder stuff. Right. She went to a program to like
bipolar, you mean, or
borderline. Borderline.
That's rough shit if it's real. You know?
Well, hers wasn't entirely real. It wasn't just some sort of chemical composition. It was like
right.
Long story short, a lot of the addiction underlying that were like these real isolating personality disorder-ish shit going on. And so nobody knew what it was. They just knew they were in a lot of pain and then began self-medicating.
That's scary. Right, exactly.
And then when they got at some of the holes and had a community around it, it was a bit... It never gets easy. Right. But it was easier. And the success in staying clean was much higher.
Isn't that unbelievable how, you know, the Bear Aspirin Company discovered heroin.
Yeah.
To get rid of physical pain,
sure,
and it works better on emotional pain.
Crazy,
and that is unfucking believable.
It is, right?
You know, it's scary. Now there's an epidemic with these poor young kids. I went to when I had the situation.
What's with this Massachusetts with the epidemic?
It's weird how I don't know. It's like there's a rural thing. There's like a. I don't know. That's such a good question. New England,
like there are pharmacies all over the country. People like pills all over the country. What is it about New England?
New England, in particular, is in bad shape.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's the Red Sox are not as good as. Honestly, after I had my shit in Pittsburgh, I do what they tell you to do in the program. I went to an AA meeting. I asked the concierge at the hotel, I got to go to a midnight aid. They have them all over. So he told me about one, and the hotel driver had a car, and he was a fan. And these radio fans are such like family. He goes, all right, I'll take you. I'll wait for you. I'll come in with you. He was worried about me. Yeah. And I said, stay outside. It's all right. The despair at this outside of Pittsburgh.
Right, yeah.
These kids have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're 22 and addicted to heroin, and their parents aren't around. They have no job, no prospects, and the ones who recognize me say, "You're our hero. You got through this." I'm like, guys, no, because they were Stern fans. I said, no, guys, I wasn't addicted to heroin at 22.
Right.
I had ambition, man.
Oh, you had
I got it
something to get
later
out
in life.
for.
I don't know how you're gonna do
Brutal.
this.
It's fucking brutal.
I don't know how you're gonna do this. You know,
And statistically, most don't.
They don't. If you're shooting it, forget it.
Oh man.
Dan, I gotta need a napkin here. Dan, a paper towel. Look what I'm going through now. Like I need a nose operation at 48.
yeah.
The pants are falling. Thank you, Dan.
Who's this guy?
I don't know.
I thought that was
Anthony
Howard.
Bourdain.
Holy Christ, I thought that was Howard.
Yeah, no, I was wondering who that was with the Bourdain.
Yeah, if you're shooting it, man, you almost have to have the resources that Keith Richards
Oh
had.
God, yeah.
Money
right.
and people who want to help you.
And shit you love to do.
Right, and you're an artist.
Yeah.
You can write tumbling dice on the guitar.
Brutal, man.
And he says that in his book. If you read his book, he's like, I had everything that could get you out of that addiction. These kids have nothing.
Yeah. Well, also he said that one of the reasons he's not dead is because he knew that when he would stop it for a while, when to restart it, he had to restart it with low doses.
Sure.
Because his body was no longer used to the high doses that he used to be used to.
And he had that knowledge because people around him gave it to him because they had experts that they hired on the road. They had a doctor give him just enough shit to get rid of the withdrawals to get on stage. Like, what's going to get you to play Start Me Up?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And but without that, nobody gives a fuck about you. And these kids are going back to a gas station. I'm at least going back to a career I love. I don't know one reason they shouldn't get high.
Yeah, yeah.
But I got through that meeting like I don't know how I did that, but I got mad at all the wrong people. Like the chick I was mad at, it's not her fault. What the fuck, you know? It's me.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't buy the disease thing either, like addiction. I like it's a weakness. I like being high, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough one to put your finger on. And all those brain scans and studies, I mean, some people's brains really do light up much more brightly than others.
I'm sure
so
mine
clearly,
does.
Yeah, clearly. No, so it's not like, obviously there's a lot of emotional stuff and your own psychological stuff, and it's not just biochemistry.
It can't be. It can't be, right. Yeah. You know? But ultimately, I got a choice. You know, I get high or not, and I choose that because there's not withdrawals. There's weakness. Yeah. Look at Prince. Prince was, you're talking about an iconic guy who became a junkie alone in an elevator.
Is the thing about happiness. Michael Jackson, Prince. It goes on and on, by the way. What do you think? Philip Seymour Hoffman had a shitty life? It goes on and on and on and on.
70 bags of heroin.
Every time somebody looks at that guy, he had a thing. What do you think? Prince never went on a private jet? You think private jets help?
Means nothing. Pussy, private jets.
How are you kidding? That'll get you deeper in.
Yeah, and being a genius. And
I don't want any part of that. I want to be right below it. I don't want any fucking part of that isolating genius. I mean, the kids I grew up... Listen, it's...
Comedy Central wouldn't let me have the title of my last special, which ended up being The Stench of Failure. And my mother didn't get
my last special was Lower Your Expectations.
My mother didn't get the irony of this. But I wanted to call it Depression Without Genius. That's what I wanted to call it because it's like, you know, there's no romance to it. Like you're depressed, but you're not Jimi Hendrix. You're me.
Jimmy,
yeah, like that's a guy. He wrote Little Wing and these riffs and this pussy. It's not enough, man. Because you keep wanting more too, you know.
My psychologist really helped me through some of this stuff. It was really helpful for me.
Well, you clearly can analyze. I mean, you're good at analyzing shit. Like immediately.
Well, I gotta figure it out because you know I don't want to be a victim to these ridiculous kind of. That comparison shit can really jam you up, people. You know,
yeah. You know, it's like
you got to get perspective, which is why New York is so much better than L.A., New York, New Jersey, whatever. A place where there are people that go to work in the morning.
Right. No, exactly.
I was in L.A. I was hanging out with 10 people at a bar. We were about 10 people. Yeah. Not a single one of them had. I didn't. If you said, "What do you do for a living?" I'm an actor. Nobody had a job. Not one person had a job. Nobody had to get up in the morning to go to work.
That's the point. My 50% of LA works 18-hour days. The other 50% leech off that 50%.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The Cato Kalins at the guest house fucking your wife
It's
while
weird.
you're on the set of fucking Law and Order LA.
And also, I mean, you leave the house here. You're not plastered with signs. Not in the middle of Hollywood. The guy at the coffee shop doesn't know whether or not you wrote a script,
Right.
had a script, auditioned for the thing. It's a dangerous place if that's all you're
terrible.
about. It's really bad for people psychologically.
It's like going to Vegas with a gambling problem.
Yeah,
You live
people
in Vegas
spin the
with a
fuck
gambling.
out. Yeah.
When I got off the Stern show, I'd see a UPS truck driver go, "Did that chick have real tits?"
Yeah.
And it's better than seeing an agent at CAA talk about it because they don't give a fuck. This
Oh,
guy
my
really was entertained
gosh.
by the show.
Of course he was.
Yeah, he felt like you did something.
Yeah, and he really wanted to know about her tits. God bless him.
I bought this leather jacket that I was too fat for. I look like a sausage. And I thought I looked good. I go to the show. They goofed on me for 4 hours.
Excellent.
I look terrible.
Yeah, but that's what people need in life.
I go outside. I'm walking down 6th Avenue, lunchtime for these construction workers. I walk by them. Every one of them goes, "Artie, we think your jacket's cute."
Yeah, but that's what we only. Listen, that's what our Constitution is based on. The idea of term limits is that our power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
need to
The
be goofed
fucking
on.
founding forefathers were there to say, "Listen, somebody's got to tell you look like a jackass."
No, I know. How brilliant were those guys, by the way?
Oh,
You think
my
about what
God.
they did.
Oh my God!
That's
bringing
fucking.
it-
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Bringing it all back to July 4th.
July.
Well,
4th.
that's
And
thank
you.
you.
Know what?
As if it were a
It's all
script.
back to July
Those-
4th. Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I would have probably,
I know,
I would have
right.
probably been a loyalist. I would have.
would stay with the
in those
British.
days,
Dan, we're out of time.
the British weren't.
A loyalist.
A loyalist.
You motherfucker.
Well, the British weren't so
Son of a
bad,
bitch.
and
You know what? I'm going to stop it here because I'm
Okay.
going to make sure you keep some fans after this report. You got anything you want to plug, though? I mean,
right. I'm doing
my
these
cousins
shows.
listen. They could go.
Exactly.
What are you doing? You got
No,
anything?
I'll be at the Cellar, and I'm shooting these shows through marketing.
And we're on Crashing.
to December, and we're on
Yeah, look
Crashing.
for that,
And God bless.
If you get a chance to see Dov Davidoff do stand up, do it because you will. You'll have a unique thing. He's great. Thank you. Come back, man.
Thanks, Artie. I'd like to. Thank you, buddy.
anytime. And
Yeah.
Naturman, you got. I love you, man. You got an open invite. You want to plug anything?
you can listen to me and Noam, the Comedy Cellar
I've
show
done it, yeah.
on riotcast.com, the Comedy Cellar show. And then,
anything else?
I mean, I don't really tweet that much. But at Dan Naturman, I guess. If you,
Okay,
I don't
yeah, that's
fucking-
good. What you're at Dov? What
I
you're
got rid of my Twitter. I don't use it.
good for you, man.
Yeah.
You know, I don't,
That's
I don't-
something else. I wish I had the balls to do that. In this business, you have to have it. I'm glad. Was it one thing that did it, or you just was a?
Yeah, I didn't feel it wasn't. It didn't feel
Well, it
like
wasn't
me.
working
it didn't
for you.
Feel
It's
my
not- yeah.
voice, and also, yipping back and forth with people. It just didn't feel like something.
Oh,
is
I know.
happening.
Of course not.
So I'd rather devote that emotional, psychological energy to doing something else.
Yeah. I announced I got engaged, which ended a fiery wreck, but I made the mistake of being fucking sentimental. First tweet is from Artie's bloated liver back. Okay? Eat a dick, fatty. That's what the guy said. I'm like, okay. thanks,
Yeah, it's
man.
like you open yourself up. Listen, it can be a net positive for some people. I mean, yeah, I know some
you
people
gotta
really.